everyone. Last session of the day. Is everybody feeling tired? No? Yes? You've been here for a few sessions. I saw you. You asked a really great question during the catwalk. Have you enjoyed the sessions here today? Good. Listen, and the seats are comfy. I'm jealous. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying the sessions. We have a really great way to close the day today. But first I want to say, it's been such a great day, and it's been an honor to be your host on day one. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. And this last session is going to be a really great way to wrap up the day. So I have to tell you that this past April, last year, I attended the HD Expo for the first time, and I absolutely love the show. Does anyone know what HD Expo is? No, let me help out you. Oh, you do, camera lady. Okay. The HD Expo is all about hospitality and design. And if you haven't gone to the show, whether you're a residential designer, a commercial designer, or hospitality, it is a show that you must see. I got so much value and inspiration out of it. I would highly recommend you look up the show. But before we talk about hospitality, I want you to hear from a brand whose products appears in almost every kind of project, residential, commercial, and hospitality. To say a few words about Cosentino and to introduce the next panel, please help me welcome Patty Dominguez, Vice President of Architect and Design Sales for Cosentino. Hey, Patty.
Thank you, Ariane. It's always wonderful to see you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are enjoying this wonderful day, first day at KBIS. My name is Patty Dominguez, and I am with Cosentino, and I oversee our commercial hospitality residential division for North America. So thank you for taking the time to come. I can assure you that we have a wonderful panel, and can't wait for you to hear what all they have to say. But first, if you don't mind, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about our company, Cosentino, if you're not familiar with us. We're a surface manufacturer from Spain, and we inspire people through innovative spaces. This is our factory in the small village of Macael. And what you see there is our factory that has grown from being one line where silestone was made 25 years ago to today, where we have over 1 million square feet and all of our different plants with our different lines. And we're surrounded by mountains and quarries. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in just a minute. The international expansion that we have made, being from Spain, but our main footprint is in North America. We have all of our distribution centers across North America. We have 52 of them, along with 7 city centers. And the main thing to note is that we have distribution, and for those of us that experience issues in the last year, I think you will know how important that is for that to be local. We have 3 hubs, and we also have our showrooms that are centrally located for the design community. We have 3 brands that I would like to highlight besides our natural stone collection, but we have Silestone, which is quartz, Decton, which is ultra compact surface, and then we have Sensa, which is granite that has it's a Sensa granite that has a patent in the surface that you never have to seal. So those are the 3 brands, and we also have a collection of natural stone and exotic stone from around the world. One of the things I'd like to mention about Silestone is the new technology that we have done, which is called Hybric. And Hybric is it's basically minerals that we have used to be able to make a new product made out of quartz that is safer as well as sustainable. Decton. Decton is a product that we developed in the last 6 years. It's truly developed into this ultra compact surface, carbon neutral since 2020. And what you see here is how we manufacture this product, and the most important part for us, which has to really do with our solar panels, sustainability, and what comes into the manufacturing of process of this incredible product, which is called Decton. But with that, at KBIS at our booth, and hopefully you'll be able to come by and see what we have to show, are our 2023 collections. The first one is called Pietra Code. Pietra Code is a collection that we are launching today by a designer, Daniel Germani, who has helped us create this beautiful collection that gives you the inspiration, being able to use more of an earthy terrazzo look. You can use it in the walls applications, flooring, as well as any application outdoors because it's Decton, as well as countertops or any of your bathroom needs and fireplaces. And it really just shares the beauty of that kind of terrazzo feel. Second, you get to be the first ones to hear about fractal. And you will hear more about that with our beautiful designer, Claudia Afshar from LA, who will be part of our panel today and who came with this beautiful idea designed by her in order to create more possibilities to use both in walls and bathroom applications, using Decton into a much more beautiful space of wellness, sustainability, and, of course, luxury, which is what she's all about. Next, we have Silestone Le Chic. And Silestone Le Chic is our new collection of silestone that is coming in the second quarter. A lot of veining, a lot of integration that goes in there for you to be able to mix and use the products. At the end, my hope is that any designer that knows about Cosentino knows that we are a one-stop shop and that you can use our products with any material that needs a surface, whether it's in a residential, but certainly in hospitality, as well as our ability to work with you in the need of any type of furniture applications for the hospitality industry. So, here are some designs that we wanted to show you, just a little bit of inspiration of bathrooms where you can do the entire bathroom cladded in the walls and the floors, the tub surrounds, and the countertops. And you can see here the large format tile of Decton, and this is at the Montego Bay Hotel in Jamaica, and it's all 56 by 56 panels of Decton. And here is also on the outdoors part of the hotel in Jamaica, where we were able to use our Decton Lauren as well. And this one is one of my favorites because we were able to work with Rafa Nadal, the tennis player. So, yeah, that was fun. Anyone here tennis fan? I don't know about tennis fan, but I think Rafa's pretty hot. I don't know what you think. So working with him on this project was pretty fun. And we got to do the entire spa with our Decton collection. And every application in the entire academy is made out of Decton. And that is, again, in Spain, in Malaga. So with that, we are in this hall, in the North Hall. So please come and see us. We would love to show you in person a little bit more. And if you have any hospitality needs, anything that you are working on project-wise, it would be my honor to work with you and help you how we can make your projects even more beautiful. So with that, let's get to our panel. And with what I would like to do now is I would like to introduce to you Stacy Rauen, who is Senior Vice President of the Design Group at Emerald. And she's also Editor-in-Chief for Hospitality Design magazine. I've had the privilege of knowing Stacy for many years, and I don't think she needs a formal presentation, as she's someone extremely well known in our industry. And she oversees multiple brands in hospitality, commercial, residential, including Hospitality Design magazine. She's part of HD Expo, of course, ICFF, Boutique Design magazine, and BDNY. She's extremely well-respected and amazing editor, someone that we at Cosentino consider a friend. And with that, please help me welcome Stacy to the stage. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. How are you? How was day one? Good? Great. Okay. Well, I know we're the last panel, and we're in between you and drinks or dinner. So I'm gonna keep it short. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Constantino, for sponsoring our panel. As she mentioned, I worked in the realm of hospitality most of my career, but lately have been taking over helping content on other brands, including ICFF. And so we talk a lot about the influence of residential and hospitality and vice versa, especially in the wellness space. At HD, we're very focused on wellness and what that means, because it can mean so many different things. And so we're excited to kind of dive into that today. So without further ado, less of me, more of the panelists. I'm going to ask each of the panelists to come up. As Patty mentioned, we have Claudia Afshar, who's founder and principal of her namesake firm. Come on down. Then we have Elisa Chodos, who is managing principal of K&A Design. And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Todd Avery Lenihan, President and Chief Creative Officer of Wynn Design and Development here in Las Vegas. So I don't like to read bios, so can each of you quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll dive into the questions. So Claudia, I turn it over to you.
Hi, thank you, Stacy. Hi, guys. I'm Claudia Afshar, and my company is Claudia Afshar Design. I've been working closely with Constantino doing a collection that has been pre-launched today, and we're very excited about it. I'd love to discuss a little bit about it later. We focus on hospitality and residential, and we do projects all over the world. Super high-end, and we look forward to getting into it with you guys today.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Elisa Chodos. I work for K&A Design. I'm managing principal. We do high-end residential, we do hospitality, multifamily, senior living, and we love it.
Best way to say it. Todd?
That was very humble. These are brilliant women. I'm Todd, and I'm the President and Chief Creative Officer for Wynn Design and Development. We're based here in Las Vegas, but we're an international company. I had a firm called Tao Studio for the last 22 years, and Wynn was a client of mine since its company's founding, since the Desert Inn was bought, before there was a Wynn Resorts. And as a consultant all those years, they had approached me a couple of times to merge my company with theirs, and I always resisted it, but finally 4 years ago agreed to do it. So my entire Tao Studio team came with me, and we are now the foundation of the new Wynn Design and Development as our company embarks on expansion plans around the world that go well beyond Las Vegas and gaming.
A couple of really exciting plans indeed.
And Elisa is designing for us currently, I should mention that.
Lucky me.
Yes.
All right, so Todd, let's stick with you. Since we wanted to focus on wellness here today, how has the idea of wellness and hospitality changed since you started out, and what does that mean to your guests today? Like, what are they looking for in terms of wellness?
It's a really good question. It's a big answer, so I'll kind of pare it down. But
okay.
I think
you got it.
The wellness it's really the outgrowth of the consumer being so much more sophisticated, educated, and learned about themselves, what they expect in terms of their work-live balance, and how they want a continuation of things they have at home when they go on the road to hotels. In the past, it's interesting, when we started 20 or so years ago, one of the bylines of the hospitality design industry was design hotels that feel just like home. Today, it's interesting how many people at home want their residents to have the attributes of a great hotel. So the elements in spa design have really found their way into the house, and hotels have responded to the customer's desire for wellness by moving beyond just massage facilities like they were 20 years ago. And you'll find now at our company, for example, just 2 weeks ago, we launched a new Wynn Wellness and Living program where you can basically take your entire sense of wellness on the road with you to our property. So there's a continuum to your live-work balance when you're on the road. And that means that not only, of course, do we have great fitness facilities and spa facilities, but in every one one of our restaurants, there's a focused wellness menu. There's products that have found their way into the room in terms of their chemical or their material content, the things that we use to craft our spaces. We also have an actual on-premise facility where if you've flown here from Europe and you're jet lagged, we have nurses on staff that can introduce you to fluids that rehydrate you via an intravenous method. And so it's really comprehensive. It's nutrition, it's state of mind, it's physicality, it's the products that you come in contact with. It's really a complete circle.
What was developing that like? I mean, like how much time and research and because I mean, again, I think you could go in so many different ways. So how did you create that fits Wynn and your guests?
Well, it's a rigorous process. We've got experts that we retain to help curate the program with us, but ultimately it's really about listening to the consumer. No matter how much intellectual wherewithal we have from specialists in the industry, we took our cues from the customers that said, this is what's important to us in our life, and this is what we need when we're away from our life base so that we can be loyal to your brand. It's just an essential part of creating brand loyalty to have people know that when they're in your care at your hotel, that they can be the best version of themselves. Because a lot of people, when they travel, feel like they sort of fall off of what they need to do to be good to themselves, and we want it to be the other way around. We want you to feel like we've actually honored what's really important to you and helped you elevate it.
And how much does personalization play a part in that?
So the personalization is tough because there's so much subjectivity to the types of products people want to use. That's one of the hardest things for us, is to find something that has universal appeal. But several of the programs allow you to personalize. So our menu offers, for example, are totally personalized and customizable. When it comes to products in the room, not so much. But then if you are one of these people that, like I mentioned, is interested in an IV treatment, those things are completely customized to whatever your particular needs are. Are you vitamin deficient? Are you dehydrated? Any number of things. And that level of personalization is delivered with that service.
Awesome. So, Elisa, building off of what Todd was saying, you mentioned that you do both hospitality and residential. What are your clients, besides Todd, asking for in terms of wellness, and how are you approaching that from your point of view?
Well, it's interesting. I've found over the last decade or so that all of the brands now have wellness components or entire brands within their brand that are dedicated to wellness and fitness. And it's a very holistic approach, so it's not just having a great gym, it's having a biophilic, natural sort of bent to the design where you bring in the outdoors in. Westin has a heavenly bed. They have the well now, where you walk into the lobby, and off of the lobby is a beautiful vessel where water pours from the ceiling or some other creative notion, and you can fill your water bottle up there and make it a communal event and have a sense of community as well. Hilton has something called 5 Feet to Fitness, which is a guest room that's dedicated to fitness and has a component of the room, which is a Peloton, free weights, athletic flooring, so that you can just continue your own workout routine in the privacy of your own room. And then in multi-residential, we've found that the amenities are quite remarkable now. The fitness areas are huge. They have massage rooms and yoga rooms. There's a connection to the indoor and outdoor. So we might have nano doors that open up to an exterior terrace that has, gym equipment outside. And it's a very integrated approach to wellness that has certainly just, exploded within the last 10 years.
Just something to add to that, which I wanted to bring up, was the circadian lighting we see a lot of as well in hospitality, but now trickling into residential, as well as clean air supply. So many people now in their homes, they want pH water. They want the clean, soft water in their showers, but pH water to drink out of. They also require quite a lot of, like I said, the circadian lighting and also the clean air. And I think that's actually great. It's really kind of encouraging this wellness and healthy lifestyle, both in hospitality and residential, especially in LA where the houses are large scale. We are seeing a big trend of hospitality trickling through to the residences now. So basically, how can you fill the space? 20,000 square foot build, what can we put in it kind of thing? So instead of just a spa, a massage room, you're doing a glam room for her off her closet. Or you might be doing a spa with a plunge pool and a steam room and a salt room and etc. You know, so it really does have this fluidity of a hospitality feel as well.
I think also after COVID and people were not in gyms and spas as much, that they've really been endeared to the idea of bringing things that they used to have to leave their home for into their house, which has been an incredible boon to the industry, because what used to seem really elusive in the past, a steam mist shower in your home or an infrared sauna is now so easily attained, and they're really cost effective and they're super space conscious. So you can have a whole host of incredible products that you used to only have access to commercially right in your home.
And actually, interested to ask you, how do you feel? I found that for a long time, hospitality was this ultra glam environment. Now, I feel like hospitality and residential, whilst it's super high end, then want it to be understated luxury. So this space, like you said, that you can feel like you're away from home, but still be in this home environment. So it's a lot of natural textures and natural materials, things like that, which I've noticed I personally like as well in my home, but also when I go on vacation. So I found like, obviously there's a range of different hotels, but I did find that it's not Versailles anymore. It's kind of scaled back to this much more wellness aware approach.
And more honest materials.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes to, like, to your point about post-COVID. I mean, the one thing COVID did teach or accelerate is how much buildings affect our well-being, multiple ways. So I think that goes to your point about materials. Like, people are aware, what they look like, how they feel, much more so than they have been in years past, I feel. Yeah, definitely. And speaking on materials, so when you were going through Cosentino and doing all this, like, what do you look for? And I know sustainability is very important to you in your practice. So, like, what are you looking for, drilling down a little bit, one level down?
Again, I'm also going to try and hone this in because this is something I am very passionate about. Good. But I met Cosentino and honestly fell in love with their philosophy and their innovation. And they are a company that just continue to push the limits and better themselves. And I really felt the need I've always loved their product because it was sustainable, it was beautiful, and it kept evolving. And so we used it on a few projects, but I was frustrated with the fact that I might love a slab and it would only come in a certain finish. And like we said now, being able to use these materials is so important. So building a structure from the ground up, you would have a material inside and not be able to use it outside because it was glossy or whatever it might be. It was slippery and it wasn't actually safe. The collection that we've worked on with Cosentino that's just been pre-launched today is actually multiple surfaces, decked on in multiple surfaces. So you're no longer just a countertop or a bathroom access. You can use this in multiple applications. So you may have a honed on the walls or on the countertop. You may have an anti-slip grip on the floor in the same color palette. And then we also have a bunch of textures on the wall. So you're able to use the same material tone on tone in multiple different applications. And we've done it in 5 different colorways, so you can actually mix and match too. So now, instead of just being able to use this in certain areas, you're able to use it on fireplaces and swimming pool surroundings and in the swimming pool and waterfalls and, flooring and kitchen islands, etc. So I really think that is that understated luxury. And I'm excited that loads of people now can get access to it. It's a mainstream brand that's medium road as far as price point, which makes it a lot more accessible for people, and I'm just excited to see a lot of people utilize it.
And Todd, you have loads of spaces that you need to put different materials in. How are you helping the design teams that you work with, or how are you asking them to think about what materials they're using in terms of, refurbishing or your new projects?
Yeah, well, we've had to become increasingly more responsible about repair and maintenance costs as well as sustainability. And so in the past, the life cycle of renovating a hotel for soft goods in rooms, for example, could be anywhere from 4 to 6 years. Case goods around the 10-year mark. Kind of depends on the type of property. But we've seen those timelines needing to actually stretch out. Product needs to last longer, but not just because of expense, because it's also the right and best thing to do. You know, we were just throwing away too much stuff for too many years, and we want to take a greater sense of permanence to the things we're designing. That's why as a company, we prefer not to be trend-driven, because trend-driven design is very disposable. It's very quickly turned over, and we think it's better to invest smartly up front for something that's going to have a longer life, not just materially, but also in terms of its appeal. And so one of the things that I think is so attractive about some of the more distilled, organic, simplified, restrained environments is that they do have a longer life. They have a longer, more enduring sort of classic appeal. People look at the contemporary design, some of the stuff that's been on the screen even when Cosentino was presenting, and often think that it's a more simple approach than the elaborate stuff that was being 25 years ago. I kind of disagree with that, because really rigorous, distilled, restrained, contemporary work is really difficult to do. There's nothing forgiving about it. Everything has to be resolved beautifully, but we're seeing products that endure and design that endures, and it's good. In a turbulent world, things that last feel good to the human.
I think it's really important nowadays also to factor in functionality and practicality, but also making it beautiful. You know, before it was kind of like, why not? And now it's really the importance of all three. And so I really, for families and for hospitality, but I feel like it's just my duty to offer them, you know, great product and have them really be able to have that in their home where it's functional for them as well.
And I think editing is harder, right, than when you say that. Yeah.
Always. You can't hide. There's nowhere to hide. I think that it's a wonderful thing to walk into a room that's very classically modern. It's just so relaxing and beautiful and fulfilling to see, as compared to so much ornament. It's just much more difficult to do.
All right, so we're going to take some questions in a second. Just watching the time, but what do you pay? I know you're not trend driven, but so we can talk. What do you see next? Like, as you develop your new properties, like, what are you looking for in terms of like space planning and thinking about wellness and, you know, how people use space differently? And then we'll go down the line, just kind of ideas of what are you paying attention to?
We're really paying attention to a complete experience. We are a narrative-driven design company. That doesn't mean that we have characters and fictitious stories, but there's a very strong conceit, a very strong point of view that we know will universally appeal to our audience. And our goal is ultimately to create spaces and experiences that people don't move through, but that actually move through the person. We try to create things that are really emotionally compelling, evocative, sometimes provocative, and that take people to a place where they feel like the best version of themselves. That's ultimately what we try to do, is create a place where you feel you've been anticipated, where you feel uniquely received, not just one of an anonymous 1,000 people that are in the space, but a place that really anticipates you as an individual and honors your values, your principles, and your passion points. And that's a tough charge, but we try to make it a part of every design decision we do.
Well, it's even more tougher in your spaces, right? Because they are grander, large. You know, we're not talking about a boutique hotel, you know, but you do have the layers that kind of brings that sense to it.
I think you have to create moments where you stop the eye, you stop the experience, to kind of make you feel held within that space before you walk into the next. And I think it's just a series of experiences walking through a large hotel so that you don't feel small, but you feel embraced. And I would say that in terms of wellness, the way we like to look at it is that it's not an appendage to a hotel. It's a component of a hotel, and that it's integrated into the design of the hotel. And I think that it's really important to remember that a successful hotel is one that anticipates guests' needs, gives them many options, and gives you a sense of kind of an elevated residential experience, so that you have touch points to home. For those of us who travel a lot, sometimes I don't know what city I'm in. I can't remember. Where am I? And I think it's really important to give the project a sense of place so that you know where you are, that you have the flavor of that community, that culture, the food, the experience. You get out, you walk, have activities so that it's not just wellness. You're meeting and greeting the community. And I think that integration is really important.
I just want to add one thing. It's quite personal, but what I would say is that life has sped up a lot. And I think people get overwhelmed with the speed of life now with online and etc. And so me personally, I would choose to go on a vacation on my own into a wellness spa just to kind of make time for my mental state and my health. And I think that is now being considered by so many people after the pandemic, that health and wellness is so important in their environment and making that time and space for themselves. And so I think that's why we're all consciously thinking about that, but also as designers, making that much more of the future as well.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. There's a project that we have on the slides here. It's definitely not that one, which is one of our projects. But I put some photos in here of a wellness destination that I did for Four Seasons about 6 years ago. It's the Sanse Four Seasons Resort on the island of Lanai. And when those photos come up, you can probably, that's actually one of the suites. This is a diagnostic facility where when you arrive, you are immediately assessed. Your physiology is assessed, your state of mind is assessed. There's a whole sort of clinical assessment that occurs so that your trip can be choreographed to respond to whatever your needs are, whether it's nutrition, movement, psychological distillation. But aside from the prescribed program that's developed for you, our mindset on the design was that we have to treat the architecture, the landscape, the interiors almost like they are an essential vitamin for you while you're here. And so everything, the color psychology, the materials, the way we exploited things from the earth that we've now cut up and made into useful elements, everything was considered in a sort of, medical, vitamin, nourishing, clinical way, so that you weren't just dependent upon what was being served to you in a restaurant, but that your entire experience on this property felt like it was nourishing you, that it was feeding your soul, that it was supporting your mind in either its need to exhale or inhale, whatever it might be. And that's also really rigorous work because it goes well beyond what people think of as just being superficial decoration. We thought much more deeply about every decision we made.
I love that you said that was medical, because that doesn't look at all, you know what I mean? Like, you took those influences and then you turned them into that beautiful space. And on the same line, I think, I'm going to botch this stat, and I should have looked it up before, but we did a whole wellness issue in October. And I think Deloitte did a study, and they said that 76% of travelers look for a wellness or sustainability story in every brand that they look for, that they use or that they travel with. And so I think it's really important that it's not just a story, right? Like it's an actual, or it's not just a marketing ploy. It's an actual part of their DNA and of the story, the true story. So I'm getting it's question time. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for our awesome panelists? Oh, good. I love a break the ice.
And I was going to look at the photo so I could remember your name, but you touched on it a little bit, but part of wellness was like even getting out and greeting people at the hotels. How do you see, now that we've realized how much community is important to our health, do you see a trend or a turning in the hospitality industry where that's being cultivated more? Because I feel like in a hotel you can end up in your room by yourself, sit at the bar by yourself. Do you see anything where that's trying to be cultivated, where you're being forced to meet and greet?
I absolutely do. And before COVID, it was a real focus, and is again now that we're all okay. We tend to make larger spaces feel smaller. We have groupings designed specifically for intimate groupings, communal groupings. You'll see communal tables that have connectivity so you can plug in, you can work at that table, you can kind of get to know your neighbor. There's an F&B component. It's really divvying up these larger spaces into smaller ones to get people out of their rooms. Even this well notion is an idea of trying to get people together to start talking. And I think we all know that community does contribute to our mental health. And so I think all of the brands are very aware of that, and it's been a focus now for quite some time.
Awesome, thank you.
Can I add to that for a second? I do think that these wellness spas and these hotels actually accommodate for single people that want to go and actually have an experience on their own. And so they do really congregate around the dining table, and they culturally make you sit with other people so that you do socialize and you have those opportunities, which I think is rare, and it wasn't really as encouraged before as it is now. It's something I think is great.
Yeah, and we've been seeing HD too. A lot of hotels are now looking to do members clubs within floors of their hotels too. So like there's the Williamsburg Hotel has the Malin in Brooklyn, has the Wayland members club. So on the 5th floor, it's, so that way, and the hotel guests get a certain access to it so they can go and be part of it for a day. But then it also brings in the community, right? Because that's where the real interaction happens, through F&B, through, the lobby space and all that, but actually having people pay to come to the hotel, then they also use the other spaces within a hotel. So we've been seeing a huge influx of that come across our desk, and a lot of them are wellness focused, so they do have some sort of a mental or health focus to it as well.
Yeah, and pre-COVID, there was a movement in a lot of design efforts to create a sense of community in restaurants, bars, lobbies. Communal settings were becoming increasingly more popular. During COVID, one of the things that really spiked was the levels of depression that people suffered when they were in isolation. And so being alone is understood to be something that is really unhealthful in a certain way. Obviously, retreating and having independence is great, but prolonged isolation without socialization can actually be a depressant. And so creating opportunities for people in restaurants, in hotels, for an introverted person who wouldn't normally assert themselves to be conversational or social, but to have organic intersections and mergings with other people is really important, because design can actually create those intersections for people that wouldn't otherwise be able to do it on their own.
Many of the brands even have events, like Kimpton has a 5 o'clock wine bar. Everybody knows it, and you show up and you meet people, and so the brands do encourage that kind of interaction.
Yeah.
All of this is so, wonderful. I'm curious, what about offering these finishes, these experiences, design, in places that are for not the super luxury, the super high end? Are any of these trends, any of these opportunities, are they working their way into, more affordability, frankly, so more people can experience them?
Well, I can speak to that. I was design director and principal at HBA for 6 years. And we focused on, it was actually Studio HBA, we focused on 3 to 4 star boutique properties and how to bring boutique design to the mid-range of the market, which is the vast majority of people. And we were able to do that. And we would approach it in much the same way that I would approach a 5 or 6 star property. I think the differences were less detail, maybe less F&B areas, but still the same kind of boutique, welcoming, surprising, inviting experience that you would have in a boutique hotel. And they did have wellness programs. They had great menus. They had wonderful gyms. They were just a bit smaller and less ornate, I would say, or less elaborate. So it can be done, and we have done it.
And I was having a conversation with a designer the other day, and she does affordable housing as her mainstay. And, we were talking that good design or bad design or expensive design can still be ugly. Good design does not have to be expensive. So, it's just figuring out where you spend your money, how you spend your money. And I think the good news about products, as we're talking about them diversifying, they've also come down, really nice materials have come, getting off of the pandemic and logistics and all that good stuff. But there are products out there that are affordable that give you that same kind of finish and feel, that you could get in a higher end property.
I think what's really interesting is that with so many even of the products being shown here, the companies that make these products I feel that there is a sincere interest in being quality and value-minded. And if the consumer, the designer, the builder, is really articulate up front about what their cost parameters are, I don't even want to call them limitations or a constrained budget, just the cost parameters for your project. It's amazing how these companies and their sales teams will meet your expectations with extraordinary solutions that can work really well into any number of budgets. And sometimes it's just about incredibly judicious decisions about where you may need to spend a little bit more because of the importance of a certain item or element in a space, and you'll offset that by being more conservative in other areas. But I think in the past, in the 80s and 90s in particular, when things were just churning, it was all about Lux, 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 and there was a lot of bragging about high end. It's actually become kind of poor taste in some circles to talk about that now. And if you go to a product, even in our industry when we're dealing with furniture manufacturers, if you tell them right up front what your budget parameters are, they'll meet you there. Even some of the most expensive creators and purveyors of product are interested in developing business relationships, and oftentimes your budget challenge can encourage them to innovate and develop something that has that beauty and that quality to it, but different materials and methods and means that allow it to be attainable to a broader audience. You guys deal with that all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
You couldn't have said it better, honestly. And that's really what the collection's about. Yeah. Making that medium road, beautiful quality that everyone can utilize and function from. So totally, he nailed it.
Hold on. She'll bring you the microphone. I think we have time for one more. Yep.
With the increased amount of people working from home, but they want to leave the home, but they still have work to do, have you been incorporating more wellness-oriented workspaces throughout the facilities?
Good question.
Yes, at home and also remotely. But I think a home office now is just so important. And actually putting time and detail into making that office unique and exciting, not just a desk looking at the wall with shelving above you, like in the staircase, area. It's really become its room. It's become a real focal point for him and for her. Really making it an experience that you have at home that you can still get locked inside of, but really feel like it's a magical space as well.
Thank you so much for having us, for coming here, and thanks to KBIS for having us. Have a great rest of the show. It's going to be amazing. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.